Hey, yo.
Yo. Yo.
Welcome in. Welcome in. Didn't have time to get the whiteboard ready for you guys, but hold on. My thing's popping out here. Uh, welcome
Already
in.
having issues here, are we? Already having issues?
We're breaking new ground, okay? I'm going wireless. I'm trying it out. See if it works. Hit me up in the comments if it's a total disaster. But thank you guys for joining us. Hopefully, you had a good, safe weekend.
We're talking about Ronnie's headphones, not just the show. The show is always a total disaster.
Yeah, these little tiny nubs that somehow
Yes.
allow me to talk. But thank you guys, as always, for joining. Hit us at the link. Hit us in the comments. A lot of football this weekend. Actually, now, preseason only, of course, but now that the NBA is back, it's going to kind of fill back out a little bit. Although college football is just dwindling to the finish line, which we'll get into. But we had a UFC pay-per-view. Yeah, we're, Champions League. The round of 16 is set, and we still had, pro team action over the weekend. So hopefully you guys got to catch all of that. Tyler, how was your weekend? How are you doing this evening?
Man, doing good. Had a good weekend. Just got some stuff done around the house. Watched a bit of sports here. Now, all in all, it was just a good, solid weekend. Ronnie, how was yours?
It was good. I definitely had a full-on red zone day, which was nice. Wall-to-wall, commercial-free football, red zone all the way, which was even nicer because of the performance by the Raiders, so I didn't have to watch the whole thing. So it was good. The morning games kind of not a real,
not good. The morning games weren't good.
Yeah, not a lot of whole super exciting ones coming down to the wire, but the afternoon games got a little more interesting, except for
the
Raiders. So we had a good little mashup there, and I think it was 6-6 too. So a nice balance. Instead, like when red zone's super loaded up in the morning and the games suck, then you go to like 3 or 4 games in the afternoon, and it's like, oh, I hope they're good.
Yeah.
But a nice balance to offset. Like the morning kind of sucked, but then we got 6 more in the afternoon. Turned out all right. But thank you again for joining. Hit the comments real fast. Thank you, Nick, also for hosting us last week from your patio. And happy birthday again. Now back in my dojo here where it's a little easily controlled, to say the least. But thank you also to everyone that watched that afterwards. Thank you to Justin, who we'll hear from here shortly, for hopping on with us too. Just to make that a little easier to navigate because, as I said, I was literally crouched on my knees on a balcony. It was not ideal, but thank you, Nick. Patrice, check it in. Yeah, just play like a champion.
Yep.
Happy Monday to you as well, Patrice. A little cross promotion there. Tyler will be joining Patrice on the book club for TV shows immediately following the conclusion of this program, talking Mandalorian. By popular request, if you didn't see the first one, well, it's too late to go watch it now because obviously you got to watch this show. But
that's right.
Check it out, and then check them out on there tonight. There will be spoilers involved, though, so
massive spoilers. Yes.
Warning that right now, but stay tuned for that immediately following this program. And Nick, yeah.
Oh boy,
what a difference a week makes. Giants asked for the smoke, and they got torched. And yeah, that was pretty bad. Pretty bad.
Not a good performance.
And especially considering, quarter and a half into it, it looked like they still, were at least hanging around. Kyler didn't look great, but the Giants just never did anything, and the Arizona Cardinals just ran all over them.
And not a good return for Danny Dimes. They they had Colt McCoy. He was leading them to the promised land. Then they got rid of it for some reason, and they paid for it.
You had your shot. Colt McCoy, obviously a leader of men.
That's right.
Choose to forego that, you pay the consequences.
Yep.
So let's start with a couple. Actually, let's just start with soccer real quick. The big game for us was on Friday, the West Ham game. They pulled out the win. So we'll dive into the Premier League outcomes over the weekend. 0-0 in a very
boring game.
Not entertaining Manchester derby, whatever you want to call it. Fulham, man, they almost beat Liverpool. I was wanting that so bad. I mean, everyone was wanting that, but just was not to be. And then the outcome of the weekend, Arsenal goes down to Burnley.
Oh man!
Woo!
So they lose on an own goal by Aubameyang, which I did actually see a funny stat that came from this game is he has at their home stadium at the Emirates this year, he has scored more goals against Arsenal than he has for Arsenal.
He always scores at Emirates as a opposing player.
That's right. Yes. But that was kind of the funny results. I mean, Arsenal, team that's always looking for to be in the Champions League or at least Europa League, and now they're like 5 points out of relegation.
They are way down at the bottom, and even compounding for them, Spurs I think is like in 4th or 5th place. So
Spurs are in 1st.
Oh, they are? Oh boy,
yeah.
That's even better. Even better. I mean, I don't care one way or the other, but the only way I care is just making fun of Arsenal. And the outcome of that game did give us, arguably, for me, the moment of the weekend, which comes. So, I mean, it was on the broadcast, but the video that I'll play for you is courtesy of Roger Bennett, one of the hosts of Men in Blazers. He just filmed it off his TV, and he was laughing so hard he almost couldn't talk. But let's check it out for yourself. I might have to play it a couple times. It's pretty short.
Oh, mate.
Can't bear to watch.
Oh, gosh.
However many months you have to wait to get back in there. And you already are doing the bag over your head thing, or in this case, the mask over your head. As someone pointed out in the comments, at least he made sure it was still covering his nose and mouth.
Still covering. Still safe, yes.
But that's one of the best things I think I've ever seen.
I don't know if you saw it, but I think it was yesterday and today, kind of all the Premier League teams were announcing like, hey, like, we can't have fans in the stadium now. We're going back to shutting down. And so Arsenal officially announced that, and then it was just all their fans saying, good, I don't want to see this fucking team anyways.
Yeah, that's probably for the best, Arsenal. But, I mean, one more time for my homie.
Oh, mate.
Look away, bro. Just look away.
Oh, God. Oh, man.
Even better would be
definitely
if he just decided to leave early. Like limited attendance. You wait forever to get back in there. He's like, I've seen enough. Fuck it, I'm out.
2,000 fans at the stands, and half of them are leaving early. But definitely tough look for Arteta. I can't imagine he's going to survive. He may not survive the rest of this calendar year. They may get rid of him before the New Year starts.
It's taken a dark turn in Arsenal land right now, especially beyond the hilarity of that guy. I mean, Arsenal flirting with the relegation zone is heads are going to roll. Like, that's just the amount of money involved. That ain't going to keep happening.
I've already seen kind of some posts come up that they think Big Sam might be taking over if they fire Arteta.
Love me some Big Sam.
I kind of, I don't want it to happen because it's not going to get better under Arteta, but at the same time, I think the Premier League needs Sam Allardyce back. So
they always
I'm all for it.
Big Sam. Do the right thing, Arsenal. Make it happen. Come on. And then the other little soccer news before we get into the football, the 16-team draw did come out today for the Champions League. Gotta say the marquee there is Barcelona PSG. So we're going to get Messi and Neymar reunited, going against each other. Sevilla, okay. Dortmund, though, I'm just happy to see Reina, who had another sweet goal over the weekend. Check that out. Probably, we were talking last week, all three of them scored. This was better than even the goal he scored last week. I mean, this was just a nice goal all the way around. And Ronaldo going back to Portugal. I mean, I still don't see any problem with Juventus running over Porto there. But Weston McKennie and Chelsea Atletico, so you got Pulisic, maybe, if his legs can stay attached to his body, will be appearing in those games as well. So looking forward to that. I mean, it's going to be a little while till they actually play these games.
Yeah, not till February.
Yeah, but now we know what the matchups are going to look like. So always excited to hear from the champions.
I will also say keep an eye out because this week, actually, in the Premier League, they will be having weekday games as well. They're going to be playing. Now they're kind of getting like the playing twice a week time frame. So we are going to have Premier League, I think, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
So yes, if you're at home and can watch it, turn it on. Why not?
Check it out. Yeah. A couple comments before we get off the soccer here. Justin dropping a "Let's go Spurs," not the NBA ones though. F them. I can agree with that. Although I do like that they on their city jersey. The one thing I'll say for Spurs, they got the the alternate third jersey. Might wear it like 5 to 10 times the season, but they brought back the crazy '90s whatever you call like Tex-Mex design with the pink and green and orange.
Yeah. The pastel stripes.
Kind of like that anyway. And no one did score in what was a terribly boring Manchester derby. And Jaime already called shot. PSG's going down. We'll see. I mean, that is just as far as the star power, definitely the one to watch here. But I don't know. I mean, who knows? We're talking February, so who knows where these teams are going to be at roster-wise, just general like form-wise going there. But that's definitely the sort of the marquee matchup there. Yeah. Right. Let's switch it over to football. Let's start with college. Again, we all kind of just felt that this was going to happen when we were talking a couple weeks ago about, wow, only like 7-8 games canceled this week. And now the reality is all coming back around. So now we have all kinds of problems with that. A bunch of games postponed or canceled this week. A bunch of conference champions ship games like now set up with teams that have played 6 games in some cases. That's awesome. I mean, the last domino to fall there was earlier today. Washington is not going to be in the Pac-12 championship game. As you can see there, we don't have any offensive linemen that can even play. And I think even if they did, they're just as a team, like eligible players, they're below the cutoff. Like they don't have enough guys available to roster and dress for that game. So I don't know. I mean, the bowl games are already starting to drop one by one. Conference championship games are going to be weird. In the case of Big Ten, they had to change the rules to sort of make that happen. It's just going to get weirder and weirder. But this was just the most recent thing that kind of came out today as far as that goes.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. I mean, like what more can we say? We've just kind of been saying it all year. It's just like it's only going to get weirder. It's only going to get worse. And it's getting weirder and getting worse. I mean, there's really nothing else we can say at this point that we haven't already said, twice a week for however long we've been doing the show.
And yeah, college football in particular, of all the sports that were, and it was time to, all right, are you guys going to play? You're not going to play? Put a plan together. They were always looking at the biggest uphill battle with the amount of teams, people involved. And, it's just getting super weird. So we'll see what happens, but expect it to get weirder. But let's talk about some games that were played. Tyler, if you want to get us started on any of your highlight games that you had over the weekend.
Yeah, I think kind of the big one happened on Saturday night where the University of Florida literally threw their playoff chances away. In case you didn't see it, they were tied with LSU with maybe a little bit over a minute left in the fourth. LSU got stopped on a third down play. There we go. LSU gets stopped on a third down play, so it's 4th and long. They're gonna have to punt it, but after the tackle happened, one of the Florida defenders ripped the shoe off of the LSU receiver and threw it down the field.
Amazing.
Which drew an unsportsmanlike play, gave LSU a fresh set of downs, and they kicked the game-winning field goal at the end of regulation there, giving Florida their second loss, and in all likelihood, I actually shouldn't even say in all likelihood because there's going to be teams with like 5 wins that are up for the playoffs. So most likely eliminating their chances at a college football playoff spot. I guess the only thing I do is quote Austin Powers, who throws a shoe, honestly.
Honestly, who throws a shoe? But spectacular collapse, especially when it comes to shoes getting thrown and it ultimately costing you the game. Pretty good stuff there. As far as other people just falling on their face, although we are fans of the plucky North Carolina team, especially earlier this year when I believe they were into the top 10 at one point.
They were.
Miami just gets completely crushed. This was just a ugly, ugly mess. I just like this tweet because they have the Last Dance MJ looking down at the stats in amazement. But woo!
Yeah, Chief
First 60-point game allowed this century. Just let that wash over you.
It's like you had texted me during the game, man. Chief of Staff Ed Reed is not going to be happy about this.
No. As you know, it's about that you, especially to Ed Reed. It's all about that you, and he is probably beside himself right now.
Then just a couple other games I wanted to bring attention to. Number 13, Coastal Carolina, the Chanticleers hang on to stay undefeated, beating Troy in a pretty high-scoring game there. So big shout-out to the Chanticleers. It'd be nice to see them get a New Year's Six game just because what the hell? It's never happened in that school's history before. Also got to point out USC. I mean, you said they're in the Pac-12 championship team. They did it again. They were down big at halftime. They made a second-half comeback and eke out over UCLA. So I think if I'm Oregon in this championship game, my strategy is don't score in the first half. Just take it at halftime, 0-0.
We know the recipe now. Just don't score in the first half, and you're good.
Don't give them any big thing to come back from. Keep it 0-0, then go off in the second half. But USC does it again, beating the crosstown rivals. And then did want to also bring up there was a wild finish. We did get some action. It wasn't weekday action, but we did get some weird action with between Ball State.
Mac moment.
Yeah, Ball State and Western Michigan, where it was a last-second play where Western Michigan was just, the old Stanford Cal, just pitch the ball, keep pitching it until it's over. And at one point in time, a guy seemingly got tackled. Both teams wound up rushing the field, but then the play wasn't dead. Western Michigan scored, but then it turns out they actually did a forward lateral at one point in time, so it was all for nothing. Ball State goes on to win the game, but definitely a weird, wild finish to that game.
And yeah, like Tyler said, it even had more of the Cal Stanford, the band is on the field, because there was actually civilians on the field, and the play was still going. People were still throwing the ball side to side. People were getting tackled. I mean, it was just insane. But they did overturn that.
Yeah, it reminded me of years ago. My dad and I went to the Alamo Bowl when it was Michigan, Nebraska, and the game ended on a similar play where it was just all laterals. Both teams ran on the field because they thought the play was dead, and Michigan wound up losing. But I always thought, I wonder if the guy that made the tackle for Nebraska was even on the field when it started, or if he just ran on the field and was like, "Oh, fuck it, they won't know."
It's hard to tell. Yeah, exactly.
You can't tell. We didn't have replay then.
There was nothing you could do except just run and save yourself.
Exactly. Well, I'm holding a TV.
I think the other thing I saw that was funny about that game was before they had completed the review, people that were watching on ESPN Plus or ESPN3 or whatever, it was just stuck on a commercial break, or it had some kind of outage. So it was just left hanging like that after you saw that insane play. They were like, what happened?
That's what you call the cliffhanger at the end of the season if it's a TV drama.
Just the old 26 men on the field defense.
That's it. Hey, that's the way it works, man. Yeah. Exactly.
We're going to build a wall.
But it was kind of a bit of a weird, wild weekend in the college football. But this week again we'll have conference championship games among other games still being played by teams just to kind of fill out their schedule. Some games are already being canceled, we've seen, so we'll just keep an eye on that and get into that more later this week.
If you are one of these teams, Coastal Carolina, I mean, just stick it out. Just don't get your team ineligible. Who knows what teams in front of you are even going to be able to play by that point. You might just, end up rising up by being the last man literally standing. So,
I was wondering the other night, because, when these kids go to bowl games, they usually get a bunch of swag from the sponsors. Are they going to get that this year? Because nobody's making any money. The bowl presidents aren't making any money. The sponsors aren't making any money. Are these kids going to get swagger this year? Or is it going to be no, you're just going to go sit in your hotel room and get nothing?
Yeah, I went to the freaking Beef O'Brady's Bowl, and all I got was a free mask and a T-shirt. Thanks, guys. But let's get into the professional football. I'm already upset, but we will get in here. As we were saying, I got to watch the entire day on Red Zone, which is my favorite way to watch, especially when the Raiders look like ass like they did. Houston, Chicago. Chicago, probably, well, more than even Chicago. Matt Nagy really needed that win.
Yes.
Trubisky looked okay.
Fine. Yeah.
Got the win. And, maybe just kind of smooth things over for the Nagster there. But it was getting a little hot. It was getting a little warm, let's say.
Yeah. Yeah. Probably bottom like a week or two of, all right, let's, maybe like teams maybe still got a shot at the playoffs here. So, again, good performance. I'm sure probably their best performance of the year. I know Montgomery had some nice runs. Houston was already pretty much out of it. This definitely cements it if they weren't already out of it. So, yeah, gotta be happy if you're a Bears fan.
Robinson got a touchdown for me in my freaking consolation week of fantasy.
Oh, there you
go. I mean, that's it. It means nothing to me. God. But on to the next game, and it's the perfect opportunity to bring in resident Quarantine Kings Cowboys insider to the program, joining us on the Sabores Colombianos Celebrity Hotline, bringing into the program Mr. Justin. How are we doing this evening?
No ID.
We're doing fantastic. I just finished a tall, steaming cup of Sabores Colombianos. It is some of the smoothest coffee you will ever drink.
You're gonna be awake for the next. You're gonna be up for the next 18 straight hours.
That's fine. That's fine. I'm off tomorrow. We're good. We're good.
There you go.
Yeah, no, it was.
Get you your thoughts on this game. I know you did call a win in our patio show on Friday. Maybe not in the same fashion, but we all know that the X factor was Joe Burrow just not being there.
It was.
Take us through this. I know it's a big win for your boys, considering everything else that went on in the division this week.
So I mentioned to you guys, pre-show that I did have to work on Sunday, but I did manage to strategically place a lunch break where I was able to watch a good chunk of the game, and then also, God bless Sunday Ticket, I watched the short clips afterwards later in the evening. So, it's hard to really take a lot out of this game. The defense never forces turnovers. So the fact that they forced multiple turnovers that did turn into points in the first half that alone was phenomenal. So I thought it was a good mix. That was the Andy Dalton revenge game. You knew he was going to come out and trying to win the game. I thought the Bengals did a good service to him. I believe they introduced him on the PA individually. He got a standing ovation from whoever was there. I don't know what the fan. I
probably
know
a lot of Cowboy fans.
Yeah. Oh, no doubt. I know every time Amari Cooper was making a catch, you could hear fans yelling "Coop." Like it was pretty noticeable. So he played well. I thought something I did take away from the game that I hadn't seen so much throughout the year was they finally started to mix up the carries with the backs, almost at a 50-50 split, which is really crazy, considering the amount of money that Zeke's getting paid. But you can't deny his fumbleitis this year. And I know he had one early in the game. And, Tony Pollard is a capable back. I think Zeke still averaged over 4 yards a carry. I know Pollard was at 4 yards a carry. But yeah, the turnovers were huge. Normally teams are rushing for 300 plus, it seems, a game against the Cowboys defense. But, it's like I said, it's hard to find positives this season. One of the big negatives that I continue to take away from games is Jalen Smith looks absolutely lost. For a guy that, was really on the uptick, really aggressive, sideline to sideline speed, great tackler, decent in coverage. He just looks lost in this defense. And my tarred and feathered to Mike Nolan comment has been made multiple times on the podcast. I still, stand true with that. I know the Cowboys came out today and said that Mike McCarthy will be back for sure next year. I hope there is a change on the defensive side. If there's not, I don't have a lot of optimism that these guys can turn it around. Depending on what we get from a full offseason and things of that nature. But, a win's a win, dude. And, albeit Jalen Hurts looked pretty damn good against a strong Saints defense. The Eagles got to win. But, poor Knicks Giants, they did the opposite of what we said they would have to do, which was neutralize DeAndre Hopkins and establish the run. They did not neutralize DeAndre Hopkins, and they couldn't run because they were down 3 scores. So, a football team did football team type things. Yeah, it definitely did. It sucked to see Alex Smith go down again, but yeah, I mean, it's still you guys have been telling me constantly this year. We're still in it. We're still in it. There's still in it. So, yeah. I mean, I think they can put some things together. Andy Dalton looks, and again, you're playing the Bengals. You got to take it with a grain of salt. He looks pretty comfortable in the offense now. The defense seems to be kind of finding their way. Again, it's against the Bengals, so it's tough to take it as, concrete evidence. But the defense looked like they were swarming around the ball. They were trying to force turnovers. You had a big strip from DeMarcus Lawrence. So, yeah, it's not
Dalton
over.
Smith with a touchdown.
I mean, dude, is there anything better than watching a D lineman return a fumble or a pick 50-plus yards? Like, it's so foreign to them.
For the first 20 yards, it's perfectly fine, and then all of a sudden you see it just hit them, and it's like, oh no, no.
Yeah. I'm not even halfway there right now. Yeah. So no, that was huge though. I mean, you guys know the NFL, man. If your defense can force turnovers and get multiple points out of it, you have a good chance to win the game. So, if that's something that they can build off of and continue, then that would be great. But again, I'm not overly optimistic. I'd be more optimistic about Rod Marinelli running that Raiders defense, but we'll save that.
Yeah, we'll get there. But thank you again, Justin.
No doubt, guys. Anytime.
A little bit later on, but like I said, a big win keeps you alive. Everyone's still alive. But hey, it's a weird year. The weirdest of weirdest years in the NFC East. So
we're not finishing 500, but we could win this damn division.
You could host a playoff game.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, thank you again, Justin.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Stick around, and we may have time to get you back on here at the end if we have a little time here at the end of the segment. But thank you, as always. We'll be in touch.
Thank you, man.
All right, let's move on down the list here. This actually ended up being a good game. I thought it was going to be close. At certain points, it seemed very close. I mean, especially early in the first quarter, the Dolphins were really just bossing the game with their defense. Mahomes looked kind of out of whack, but the problem with the Chiefs is they're just never out because they can always score so fast. Yeah. And they really just put their foot on the gas, stretched it out. I mean, Tua played okay. I thought it was definitely a big test for him, especially down in a game. Made some tough throws, made some, rookie kind of looking plays too, but he was fine. Just fine. Not enough juice to hang with the Chiefs. And I think that's the entire league's problem.
You know what? I'll go ahead and say this. You can call it. We're not usually hot take people, but I'll go ahead and say it. Fitzpatrick's in there, they win the game.
No, don't say that.
I'll say it. But no, to your point, it is kind of at the end of the game, it really just kind of put forth where you realize Mahomes threw 3 picks, took a 30-yard sack, and they still scored 33 points and won the game. It's.
And Mahomes still had almost 400 yards. It felt like. I mean, it's even probably didn't kill you in fantasy just by yards. He still had the 2 touchdowns. I mean, the 3 picks, yes, but they just always if you give them just a little glimmer of hope, it's always enough time for the Chiefs. And I was kind of talking to my dad about this over the weekend because to me, the Chiefs they didn't get worse. If anything, they got better, So they haven't gone anywhere. And I think the only reason why they don't always get brought up as far as let's talk about the Bucks, or let's talk about, some of these other teams that the Steelers undefeated. It feels like just the Chiefs are so inevitable. They're just boring to talk about because there's no threat to them. So you can't really make any kind of debate on, like you said, these hot take shows or things like that. I know they had a play towards the end of the game. I mean, it was, win probability, they were still probably going to win. but Dolphins had a chance to get them off the field. It was like 3rd and 1, and because the Chiefs can do this whenever they want, they just go like empty backfield, 3rd and 1, and hit Kelsey for like 40 yards, and then that's it. Like you get it, like they were blitzing him. It's like, all right, one defensive back against Kelsey. That's just, it's going to be a tough ride for you, little man.
Yeah, no, you make a great point about how just like kind of the media's talk about other things. They're kind of like a way I would describe it is kind of like Clayton Kershaw when he was in his prime, and like he only won like 2 Cy Youngs, but he was second like every year because it was just like, oh well, he's just always great. So we got to talk about and give all the attention to this other guy that's like having his glimmer in the his moment in the sun. Like the Chiefs are just so damn good. Like you want to talk about everybody else because like you just know like the Chiefs. It's like you said, it's kind of boring to talk about. Like, oh yeah, they were just awesome again. They had 500 yards of offense. Like, all right, move on. Like it's
just inevitable almost. Yeah.
It. I mean, you feel the same way I do being in the AFC, being a fan of a team in the AFC West. It sucks because they're not going to get worse anytime soon.
No, I don't think so. Mahomes is there for forever now.
Yeah, forever.
And considering how young he is, almost still sort of like a team favorable deal. Like it's hard to say that about a guy that got that much money, but it's like, okay, we got that locked up. We don't have to worry about this position, barring some injury or something. But
$500 million, and he might be underpaid.
The Chiefs are ridiculous. But we move on. Sorry, Nick. Again, we've touched on it before. Giants. I have been a fan of the way they played all season, even when it was really bad at the beginning. I mean, it seemed like they were competitive. They were trying anyway. And then now, once they started getting a little taste of like, hey, everyone's got a shot, and we've got just as good a shot at anyone in this division. Like, this was a big game for them. Cardinals are kind of treading water at this point. But, Giants just look real flat. It was not good. It was never really competitive except for the beginning when Kyler Murray was a little, hit or miss, sort of stalling out on drives. But Giants just really did not show up as far as I'm concerned on that one.
Yeah, it's tough. And of course, we'll talk about it later, but now they're a game behind the football team for the NFC East, whereas before they were tied and they owned the tiebreaker. All they had to do was match Washington's record. Now they got to gain a game. And, I think 2 of their games left are in the division, so at least they have that going for it. But, definitely rough performance in Arizona. You're right, they're treading water. I think they're still in a playoff spot. I mean, they're not winning the division. Obviously, they're a couple games behind now, but Arizona's still holding hope, still trying to get one of those last playoff spots. So,
that just could be one of those big where you look back at the end. I mean, even in the division of the worst records ever, like that could be that big swing. Like, we needed that one.
Yeah.
Next game, the game that all the hot take shows love because anything involving Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. Of course, it was the Buck Troy Aikman game, the showpiece game, because again, just by the mere presence of Tom Brady, but he looked okay. I mean, I think he really didn't have to throw as much. The defensive line was just really, let's just say the Vikings' offensive line was terrible. I mean, Kirk Cousins, especially by the end, he was having to do like the Carson Wentz like hero ball thing, and that led to more trouble. But it seemed like they were just in his face the entire game. It was insane.
Yeah, and they weren't helped out. I know I made a text in our group chat about how the mighty have fallen with Dan Bailey missing a couple PATs and 3 field goals. Like, I mean, look, he was a former number 1 pick in one of our drafts, Ronnie. Granted, Ronnie didn't have a choice in that, but
Dandy Dan Bailey.
I mean, this is the guy that's has the second highest field goal percentage in NFL history, and just can't make anything right now. That was that was an ugly performance.
To that point, just kind of a rough day for kickers in general. I felt like early in the afternoon games, I think on Red Zone they mentioned that we had already hit the 10 miskicked point of the day. And that was probably maybe like 2:30, 2 o'clock when they made an announcement.
Half of those were Dan Bailey, but
that's true. He was helping out the kicker squad.
Yeah.
But maybe going to be rough for him to hang on to a job, unfortunately, because that seems like the most expendable, easily swapped out position in the NFL. for, like Tyler said, a pretty big fall for a guy that has the resume of him. Denver at Carolina ended up being a pretty good game.
Pretty good game, yeah.
Yeah. I was surprised by that. I still hate Drew Lock, but man, this actually ended up going back and forth, and especially towards the end, like for the morning games, it was the only one at the end that was kind of like this could go either way, like almost one of those like who's going to have the ball last kind of things. Sneaky good game. I mean, Carolina, they have no reason to play Christian McCaffrey at this point anyway.
Yeah.
You got to think if he's in that game, they probably win it. But again, is beating the Broncos in a late season game really worth it? Probably not, especially because he is paid. But yeah, just one of those games that the NFL will always like sort of sneak up on you and like, oh, this is, especially in these morning games where there was nothing really. I think they didn't even do the red zone witching hour because there was no one-score games at one point. And then this game ended up getting, sort of back and forth there at the end. But a fun game to watch. I mean, especially if you're a fan of one of those teams. I don't have any affiliation with either, except for hating the Broncos. But hey.
Well, I mean, that's the thing is like Carolina has shown they've been a pretty fun, exciting team this year. It hasn't resulted in success, but even without McCaffrey, they've got Davis out there that's still doing, well enough and getting, 100 yards a game. And Denver is normally a very, very boring team. But just they turned up this weekend. Hey, my hand in the air. I said skip this game on Friday, and it turned out to be probably the best game of the morning. So shout out.
You know what that means?
I sure do.
Ass.
You can leave it up there.
On.
You can leave the ass stamp there. It's fine.
Let's move along. Tennessee at Jacksonville. Not anything surprising about the outcome, but yes, Derrick Henry again. And especially considering, I mean, as you know, I'm out of all my fantasy playoffs anyway, so it sucks. But for a lot of leagues, the first week of the playoffs, and this is like Derrick Henry feast season all over again. 200 over 200 yards, 2 touchdowns. Just, I mean, you can just see guys like wilting away, like wanting to tackle him, especially if he gets like into the second level.
They're not making the tackle. No.
Nobody wants any part of this guy. I mean, he's just a beast.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
The only thing I was going to say is, and usually it does not in the long term work out anyway, but in some way sort of satisfying to see a running back get paid big and still like not lose a step the following season.
Yes.
And that's always the fear. I mean, running backs are notoriously the most screwed by the current like salary structure of the NFL, and because of the franchise tag, really you get their best up to 5 years at below their market value.
At a very low pay, yes.
So kind of good just for the running back fraternity out there. Just, I mean, there's only one Derrick Henry, obviously, but to see a team pay him out and he still just like keeps giving you the same thing, at least in the next year, wasn't any kind of huge drop off at all.
Yeah, no, you're right. It is great to see him. I mean, it was 215 yards, like you said, 2 touchdowns. He carried my team in our fantasy playoffs, so that was practically negated thanks to your Raiders. We'll get into that in a little bit. But Derrick Henry. Did you see the one-handed catch by A.J. Brown in the first half?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that catch was insane. I mean, that's a team that's like, when you really look at it, like, God, they've got the pieces on that team, man. It's just a matter of just can they put it together in January? But the pieces on that team are there.
And this is, we saw it last year. This is the time of the year where Derrick Henry just seems to be getting stronger, and people just seem to be getting less willing to tackle him. So
it's like you said, man. They got to make that business decision.
Like, yeah, it's cold outside. I know we're in last place. Like, do I really want to just try to like tag this guy? Nah.
But
just gonna try to trip him.
Yeah. Hopefully, I can just slap his leg and make him fall.
And that brings us to the Raiders, unfortunately, who are exactly who I thought they were, which is a bad defensive team. They are way too reliant on turnovers. They can't get off the field. They can't just get ever a 3-and-out, it seems like. And which culminated in the firing of their defensive coordinator after this game. But
Yes,
they
Paul
didn't
Gunther no longer there.
even get any turnovers. So that's really like their only. They don't even have like what I would say a bread and butter on defense. But if you don't get turnovers, you're definitely not gonna like slow the other team down just from a yardage standpoint. The Colts had like 470 total yards. I mean, rushing yards like 260, something insane. It just like every time they cut to it on red zone, it was just like, oh, here goes a 30-yard gain for another Colts running back.
Yeah, Jonathan Taylor had 150 yards, 1 or 2 touchdowns, I can't remember. Nyheim Hines had some rushing yards, some receiving yards out of the backfield too. Just a real bad performance from the Raiders defense. Like you said, Paul Gunther got fired. So Justin, there you go. If Dallas needs a new defensive coordinator, Paul Gunther's available.
He is available.
Kind of makes me wonder. I said it last night on Callan's show. I left a comment saying, you know who would be really good as a defensive coordinator in a city like Las Vegas is Rex Ryan. So maybe your Raiders can make that happen.
Oh man, I don't even know how I feel about that. I just know I'm pissed off at the Raiders right now. I'm ready for the draft. It was like, look, scalping the Chiefs was cool. Just the little collapse here. At least they prolonged it, maybe like 1 week extra compared to last year, where it was like, hey, they're kind of punching above their weight here. Everything's going the right way, but it all kind of comes out in the wash as far as like the defense is just not talented enough. I mean, they're just too like they live and die off turnovers. I mean that they're maybe did Mahomes get picked off by the Dolphins? I know he was looking rough, but I don't know if he got picked
Mahomes
off.
by the Dolphins got picked off 3 times.
Yeah, 3 times. But before that, the Raiders were the only team to intercept them all season. So
correct. Yes.
And they won one, almost won the second one. So that just shows you, though, what they're working with. Like, if they don't get turnovers, just as a unit, they're not very good. And changes need to be made. Can't wait for the draft. Just bring on the draft, and I don't need to see any more Raider games, which I'll watch it. But
I will say, just as a Chargers fan, it was nice to see Rivers go out there and ball out against the Raiders. That sorry, Ronnie, but that just doesn't get old for me.
It doesn't get old for Phil Rivers either. I think he's going to take that to the grave.
That's very true. But definitely, rough game for your boys, no doubt about it.
My second game of the week, the Jets coming through big time for me, losing by 37 points. Shout out to my Jets for not making this interesting at all. That's what we like to see, baby.
No.
That is what we like to see. I do feel bad for Sam Darnold. I mean, I don't know if he's ever was going to be good, or all I know is like Adam Gase sticking around, who was brought in under the guise of being some kind of quarterback whisperer. It's clearly like holding him back from any kind of stepping forward at this point. So it just gets worse and worse. I feel bad for him. Just see it out. Maybe just take him back off the field and just let us all know again that you're just tanking to get out of the season. Let's get Flacco back out there. Whatever is left in the tank for Sam Darnold, it's just going down and down and down week by week. But keep my bet alive. I don't want to see Flacco out there actually like performing well. That would be very upsetting to me. So
it's not the playoffs. It's not the playoffs, so you don't got to worry about Flacco performing well. We all know he steps up in the playoffs, but kind of coasts through the regular season. So you're right about Darnold though. It does suck for him because it's like maybe he could be good, maybe not, but being where he isn't giving us the chance to see if he could be good. And so that definitely sucks for him. But you're right. I mean, Seattle had it wrapped up early. I mean, in my big money league, one of my quarterbacks is Russell Wilson, and he was out in the third quarter. So definitely all the fantasy managers there were not happy about that, but no reason for him to be in there. Seattle's just going to roll along. They're trying to keep pace with actually, I think they are still tied with the Rams for the division. So that's going to be a fun playoff race down the end, seeing them and the Rams fight for the West Division title.
And one other thing, just on that game to wrap it up, as it circles back to the game we just talked about, the Raiders both played the Jets back-to-back weeks, kind of like, all right, really need this game to get back on track. And you see the difference. Like Seattle just like completely just cut the head off immediately. And the Raiders like dicked around for the entire game, had to have the Jets just make a baffling, basically give them the game on the last play of the game to win that game. So that was a pretty stark difference to me. I was like, oh yeah, the Seahawks need this game and they're playing like they need it. The Raiders needed that game and they're playing like assholes. and they just get gifted the win. So we got a long way to go, Raiders.
Yeah, next team we got on the list there, we got Green Bay going into Detroit, getting the win there. I know the score was close. Detroit kind of made it interesting at the end. I never really got the feeling Detroit was going to win the game. I kind of felt like Green Bay kind of had it, but good on Detroit keeping it close. Decent performance from Green Bay, not great, but they're probably out of the NFC teams. They're looking the most consistent kind of down the line the last month or so, which is good. I think now they're the number one team in the NFC, which, you always say Lambeau having home field at Lambeau in the winter is massive, although their run defense kind of sucks, so that kind of maybe negates having home field advantage in a cold place. But they just roll along, and I think they actually clinched the division this week as well.
Yeah, and there was a little, like you said, at the end of the day, the record is the record. If you're looking at these NFC teams, you got to give them credit there. Their defense has definitely played a lot better the last few weeks. There was still sort of just that weird sense of that I've seen in a lot of Green Bay games where they kind of just take their foot off the gas and then allow the other team to come back in for some reason. So kind of definitely something they should work on, because it just seems like in the second half, especially when they come out, they get a lead, they're just we got it. Oh crap, now it's an actual game again. I don't know. Yes, the record. I'm not taking away from that. There's just some things.
10-3, you got to tip your hat to it. But you're right. It's not like
I still have some moments where I'm just sort of just go for the kill sometimes, and they just seem they can't do it always. Real quick, I do want to touch on this because this is breaking news from Justin. Trace McSorley has entered the game for the Ravens, trailing with 6 minutes left.
Oh,
so
no.
Definitely something to keep an eye on there. And man, quite a highlight I'm gonna have to watch after this. I think it's gonna be over by the time we get off the air. But man, the Browns, like I said, we were talking about Green Bay, just yes, I see the record, but I'm not convinced. And then I finally, I gave credit to the Browns. Look, you guys just keep winning these games, and shoot, they came back in this game somehow. I don't know what happened, but they're playing hard.
Yeah, no question about that.
Moving on, this was a bizarre game.
Jeez.
Philadelphia actually wins with Jalen Hurts, so the quarterback situation there just gets weirder and weirder. Hurts actually, yes, just sort of the change of pace. I feel like it's from a locker room standpoint, kind of let's just give this guy a shot. We were kind of winging it week to week. I don't see any kind of offensive plan. He didn't look too the game was too big for him, at least. He took off and ran when he had to. I think he had, I want to say, quite a few runs over 8 or 9 or 10 yards, just keeping it alive when they had to. And the Saints just, I don't know, they look flat. I mean, yes, we're still deeply in the Taysom Hill era, and he made some throws, honestly. I mean, everyone's knocking him. He's yes, he's not just a bona fide number one quarterback in the NFL, but they were trusting him to throw, and he was making some. So I'm not just totally going to bash the guy, but very surprised that the Eagles won this game, even with, the Saints defense is just really good. We talked about that on Friday. You're throwing Jalen Hurts out there for the first time against what was coming into the game the best defense in the league. I don't know where that shook out after this game, but I think the funniest thing is just that the quarterback situation in Philadelphia just gets more and more insane.
Yeah, it's Hurts did fine. I wouldn't say he was good. I wouldn't say he was bad. He was fine. But kind of with how bad Wentz has been, fine is okay, well, now we got a quarterback situation on our hands because Wentz has been awful. This guy's better than awful. I still don't know how the Saints didn't get that onside kick at the very end of the game.
Yeah.
That made no sense to me.
That was crazy. And I really did like the onside play that they ran. I think at the same time, the Lions Green Bay game was also looking at an onside kick, and they kind of ran a similar play, but did it go out of bounds or did it not go 10 yards? Something
it went out of bounds.
Yeah, it just wasn't as executed as well, but the Saints kind of ran that same sort of drag it short of the 10-yard line and run some guys out there to sort of set a pick, and then as soon as it gets over 10, just fall on it.
Yeah.
And then it was a huge pile up, or you got to imagine all the Eagles guys diving in there are like, that's literally our chance at maybe getting a playoffs. Like, I got to get this ball somehow. So Lord only knows what was going on at the bottom of that pile. It seemed to go on for like 5 minutes.
Long time, yeah.
But they come out with it. So I
so
like play as far as like drawing it up, and it depends on, when you're kicking the ball like into the ground, it can just bounce any kind of way. But they actually executed it well. They just didn't come away with the ball.
Yeah. But yeah, so Philadelphia, they keep their hopes alive as well. They're still alive in that NFC East. So props to them. They're making it everybody in that division is still making it fun till the very end.
And I'm gonna have to do the same thing we did on Friday, because football team takes down the 49ers, and we were just on the subject of the NFC East. That log jam of suck just continues right there, but anyone can still get it. Alex Smith, the leg injury was definitely awkward for everyone, having to see that happen again, and it was the leg. So that was kind of like, oh man, hopefully that's not catastrophic, but a little bit of a cloud over the game there. But they do come away with the win. And we got to leave Tom here, because I know Tyler's got to run after the show for the Blow It Bowl, as I was calling it going into it. The Falcons and the Chargers. Who is going to blow it? And man, they were both trying at the end, but
they
Tyler,
both tried.
I know you got some thoughts on this, so I'm going to give it up to you right here, because this was both teams delivered. I'll just say that.
It was so we've always said it on here. Bad football is better than boring football. Most of this game was very boring, but I would say the last minute or so of each half was bad, which made it pretty entertaining. Of course, it would be a Chargers game without a horrible special teams fuck up, which at the end of the first half, at the end of the first half, they have the ball 3rd and 5, I think, inside the 5-yard line with no timeouts, 20 seconds left. They run a halfback dive. So, of course, now the clock is still running. The offense gets up to the ball to try and run a final play, but then the field goal team comes running out. Nobody knows what's going on. The field goal team actually gets set up, snaps the ball off in time, but the members of the offense were still running off the field because they didn't know what was happening. So yeah, that's how the first half ended. Again, typical Chargers special teams fuckery. And then the second half ended. We got a tie game. Chargers got the ball. A little over a minute left. Driving down. Herbert throws a pick. Now I'm thinking like, well, okay, there we go. That's how the Chargers fucked it up. But the Falcons cannot be outdone. They cannot be outdone.
They got mad, which real quick leads me to a tweet that Tyler pointed out to me, which was one of my favorite of the weekend. By the Atlanta Falcons official.
By the Falcons.
They just admitted, like, we don't know what's going to happen here. Buckle up. Because both of these teams find a way to lose all the time.
Yeah. So after the Chargers throw the pick, I think 3 plays later, Matt Ryan throws a pick. Chargers go downfield for a last-second field goal. I know Ronnie had sent a text like, this is either going to end in a tie or the Falcons are going to block this and run it back for a touchdown, which wouldn't have surprised me either way. The shocking thing was the Chargers pulled it off, got the game-winning field goal. Again, not a good game, a mostly boring game, but exciting into the half. So hats off Chargers, I guess. I thought it was just the complete debacle of the not being able to even kick the field goal at halftime. I was like, all right, the Chargers are going extra hard. Like, they're just going to blow this before it even gets – I want it to be close at the end to really see who's going to blow it. And finally, it kind of came back around. And, the last 5 minutes of that game was everything I wanted. With the 3 interceptions, Chargers going for a field goal. I had my camera out filming it. I was like, something's going to happen. Something's going to happen. And they actually made the kick. But not disappointing at all. Not disappointingly, they made the winning field goal.
Hey, I mean, stop clock is right twice a day. But just the fact that it all played out like that in the last, maybe not even 5 minutes, maybe 3 minutes. So
it was the last 2 minutes of the half, yeah.
This is everything that I wanted. So in that way, the game did not disappoint.
Oh, there you go.
Couple more comments here before we get out of here, because I know Tyler does have to run, and again, please stay tuned. Check him out with Patrice. The last episode was a lot of fun. I'm not really worried about spoilers. I have not really watched into the show, so
he
I'm
does
gonna
not watch. Yes,
But again, there is a spoiler warning, heavy spoiler warning. So let's see what's going on here. Let's see. Oh, Barron's coming in saying Sorley's hurt.
oh jeez.
Justin clamoring for Dez to play quarterback. I don't know if I'm assuming he's off the COVID list now. And oh yeah, I know. I was hoping as well, Justin, that would go to overtime, which would include more interceptions, more missed field goals, whatever.
Oh, Lamar came back in and threw a deep touchdown pass.
Oh man, that was a heck of a game then.
42-35 with just under 2 minutes left.
All right, well, I'm gonna go check out the end of that then.
Yes, watch that.
Tyler, go get set up. I'll check you out on Patrice's show. Thank you guys as always for joining us. Thank you to Justin for calling in. We love you guys. We will see you on Wednesday. Be safe out there. And that's pretty much all I got.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Didn't get to talk UFC. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about that on Wednesday because it was a hell of a card the UFC had this past weekend. So thank you so much for tuning in, guys. Again, stick around. Book Club for TV with Patrice, Jesse, Bo, and myself all talking The Mandalorian. So thank you so much. You guys know the drill. Keep the fire.
Keep the fire.